What's up, guys? Based on Cinema, back at it again. Today we have for you Azrael from 2024. In a world where no one speaks, a devout female-led community hunts down a young woman who has escaped imprisonment. Recaptured, Azrael is due to be sacrificed to an ancient evil in the wilderness, but fights for her own survival. I'm Jacob.
I'm Nick.
This movie is directed by E.L. Katz. I never heard of this movie until I saw it at the theater. Me and my buddy Valentino were just hanging out one day and like, you want to go see a movie? It's like, yeah, sure, let's go see a movie. We saw one movie, Bagman, which was a PG-13 horror movie, and then we also saw Azrael, and had no idea what both were about. Just went into it blind, which is honestly the best way to do it because it's fun that way. And I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised at that, and I have a lot of good things to say about it. It's just a really solid movie. Nick, what about you?
I had a good time with it. I thought a lot of the effects and cinematography and the acting was pretty damn solid. The only thing for me was just like, I don't know, it's just because I watched it in two different halves and not one complete watch. But it for me at moments I was kind of confused like as to why certain things were happening and what was happening towards certain parts. But overall, I had a great time watching it. I thought it was a great movie. Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to go into the director and a few of the actors real fast. And I think this is important just to highlight the people who have worked on this film, the people who had made this happen, who gave us these memories to talk about with you guys. So we're going to go through it as fast as possible. So we have E.L. Katz. He is the executive producer for the new show called Teacup. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I'm probably not going to watch it. He was a part of VHS 94. He was an associate producer. He was he was also a co-executive producer for The Haunting of Bly Manor, co-executive producer for Channel Zero, Small Crimes, Hap and Leonard, The Aggressive Scale, A Horrible Way to Die, Pop Skull, Homesick, Mortuary, and did a lot of that stuff. But he also directed some Teacup. Was a director of The Haunting of Bly Manor as well. He did Swamp Thing, the TV series, Channel Zero, Small Crimes.
Sick.
He worked on Scream, the TV series, on one episode. He did the ABCs of Death and Cheap Thrills. So he's still becoming one of his own, and I think he really did do a great job with this movie. I really haven't seen any of his previous work. I didn't see the Scream series from 2016. Was not interested in that. It just looked like a Riverdale Teen Wolf version of Scream.
I did watch all the Scream TV series.
And
It wasn't the greatest writing ever in a horror show. As most horror shows aren't the greatest,
plus it's
but
MTV.
I will say that it kept that feeling to a degree.
Like that
It
Scream
did its
feeling.
best. It did its best to continue that on.
New mask.
Same mask.
Oh, it's a different mask.
No, same one.
Yeah, look it
Exactly
up.
the same.
Look up.
Oh yeah. No, third season they used the same one.
Oh, okay. So is
First
this like a
two was the
prequel or
other one.
something, or?
No, it's the first two seasons is kind of like a completely different universe or some shit.
And the
It's
third
not
one?
even related. Third one is within the Scream universe, I believe.
But are the 3 seasons linked?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
Because they finished the second season on a cliffhanger. Then it was they didn't make another season after that. And then a couple years later, people were like so like bring it back. You can't just leave us like that. They
Right.
brought it back, but they continued it with a completely different, unrelated story.
Well, that's not what they wanted.
Nope. It was, and even me, like when I watched it, I was like,
Well,
"The fuck is
you
happening?"
can't have high hopes at MTV. The
No.
most consistent thing they've done was the music videos back in the 80s and 90s, and then probably Jersey Shore,
Mm,
which at least stayed consistent and
that's
continues
true.
to. I don't know. That's just me kind of being half joking, but also kind of serious. We have Samara Weaving. Every
Love her.
every time I look at this movie, her name just consistently pops up, and she's a good actress, a really good actress. She was great in this movie. She has like 8 up and coming productions coming up. Coming from the earliest to the latest, we have a movie called 200% Wolf, La Snob, Screen 6, Babylon, which I still really want to watch, Cavalier, which I still really want to watch. If that's the movie that I'm thinking about. Yes, I'm not sure. I don't like really want to watch it, but I do want to see it just to see if it's good. The Valet, Cavalier.
Oh, okay. Yep.
It's a movie. The son of an African slave and a French farmer, he achieves an unthinkable position in society as a famous violinist, composer, and fencer, in addition to experiencing an ill-fated love affair. So, he's a black gentleman from a son of a slave and a French farmer, and he's like kind of bursting through the world of racism.
Gotcha.
We have she was also in The Valet, Nine Perfect Strangers, Snake Eyes, No Activity. She was in The Babysitter Killer Queen, Bill and Ted Face the Music, Last Moment of Clarity, Hollywood, the miniseries, Smilf, Ready or Not, Picnic at Hanging Rock, the original, The Babysitter, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I like that movie. Mayhem, Monster Trucks, Bad Girl, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, TV series.
Great.
He Who Has It All, Squirrel Boys, Growing Young, Home and Away, Mystery Road, Steps, Sprung, Out of the Blue.
Three Billboards was also really great.
It was.
I love that movie.
It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. I haven't seen it since I saw it, but it's memorable.
It's pretty good.
We have Vic Carmen. She plays the, if I'm not mistaken, she is the older woman in this movie. I think that's her. She looks so different in these pictures. You know, out of my unknowing, I might just pass over this. I apologize, Vic, if you're watching this, which you probably are not, but I just need Vic Carmen. Vic
Very good.
Carmen. Azrael.
It wasn't a lot of like big names in this. A lot of like
No,
pretty,
which is nice.
introducing people to some new names, new faces.
That's true. So go check out
Which is
Vic
nice.
Carmen.
Yeah.
Nathan Stewart was the love interest. He did a series called The Culprits, Femi. He did Candyman. He was Troy. Generation. He was Leo Rugazi in Doctor Who in 2021. Not gonna watch it ever. Soulmates, The Argument, The Trial of Christine Keeler, Dracula, the TV miniseries, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Mope, The Kid Who Would Be King, Benjamin, Vita and Virginia, Adulting, which is a podcast series just a podcast series. Famous in Love, TV. Like, TV did a lot of TV. A lot of these are TV. But he's done a lot of shorts, a lot of TV. He was in a show called Misfits. He was in the entirety of the show.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Me too. But he was in 1 or 2 episodes here and there in these shows, but he's done a lot of them. And
Gotcha.
Culprits was in 2023. He did 8 episodes. Last person I'm going to go over is Iro Milanoff, just because I think he was my favorite character in this movie. He has done a TV series called Cry Wolf, a movie called Get Away, Hyge, Polari, For Little Adults, The Good Driver. It seems like he's foreign because a lot of these movies are not in English. Yeah, he was born in Finland.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he really hasn't done anything in America that is known.
Nothing big.
Nothing, really. Like Azrael is it.
Is it? Sure.
Yeah, but he was great. He was one of the members of the cult, I guess you can call them.
I was like, this is definitely a cult.
Yeah, go figure. But yeah, that's it for the actors and directors. I just want to go through that real quick. There's not a lot worth mentioning, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Props to E.L. Katz for making a very big, or decently big footprint in horror for this year. So we're gonna go right through it. Nick, stop me anytime you want. Interrupt me whenever you want. Let's have a conversation. So, really cool thing about this film that I enjoyed from the opening and throughout the movie is the screen goes black and we get this red text pop up, giving us scripture and giving us little bits of information that help us know what's going on in this world. So the first one that pops up is many years after the rapture. If anybody doesn't know, the rapture is a theory, it's a biblical theory that God will basically take some portion of the population, they'll ascend into heaven, and the rest will be left on earth. To the ones who ascend go to paradise, the ones who are still on earth stay in the same state as they were before. It is an old concept, but it's not an original concept. It's been, in Orthodoxy, which is the oldest form of Christianity, that's not a belief. I'm pretty sure with Catholics it's the same, but a lot of Protestants, they believe in the rapture. So, many years after the rapture, among the survivors, some are driven to renounce their sin of speech. So we already have a kind of a layer of extremism here. Some are driven to renounce their sin of speech. So perhaps instead of saying things with an evil tongue, they just decide to exterminate their ability to speak in totality. That way they don't, I don't know. Like, it's not really specified here. There is...
They cut out
cut their vocal cords. Yeah.
Or their talk box, whatever it's called.
Yeah. So there is a lot
voice
of...
box.
Yeah, there is voice box. SP7, spirit box. So there is a lot of ambiguity in this movie. And honestly, when in a movie like this, I don't mind that. I don't know how you feel about it, but there's a lot of horror movies that try to go for a message or a story. And they're trying to drive something home, or they're just trying to leave you interested. And there's not a lot there to keep you hooked, or a lot there to keep you caring for it throughout the movie or even after. And a lot of times you just forget about it after the fact.
Yeah.
A movie like that, for example, Heretic, which I just saw, which I would like to talk about on here. It had a lot of what I'm talking about. But this kind of movie, it works because you're left in this mysterious world and you have no idea what's happening, no idea what's been going on since the rapture. You have no idea who these people are, why they can't speak, and eventually you learn more and more as you go, but at the end you still are not sure exactly what's going on. And I don't mind that with this kind of film, and we could talk about the ending. We'll talk about the ending. So her name is Azrael. One of the survivors is looking through the woods for berries to add to her handmade bracelet for her suspected boyfriend, Keenan. We see Keenan in front of a fire that he made. Azrael notices this and throws her robe on the fire, putting it out, looking around with suspense and caution. She obviously doesn't think the fire is a good idea. Right off the rip, you're just kind of like, well, it seems like they're being hunted, or some people out there looking for them. And you got an idea that they're hiding. Like they're outsiders within the outsiders. We get some nice sequences of the two communicating. Again, there's no dialogue in this movie except for one scene. And the language is an old language. It's like an old language, so nobody could really decipher it. And I'll mention I'll mention that. But it's cool that we get a language in one of these scenes that we never heard before, and it's a very old language, and they choose a language like that to put in here and to leave a level of silence even when things are being said on screen.
Dude, when that scene happened with the language, I was sitting here I was like, my dumbass. I was like, let me rewind that because I'm pretty sure I misheard that. There gotta be, he had a headset, something. So I rewinded it a little bit, and I was like, listening to it again, and I was like, wait, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Right. No, I couldn't put my finger on it at all. But like I said, they're communicating through hand motions and just kind of, hinting at certain things, and it's a nice little sequence of the two communicating while sharing their love for each other embracing and kissing. Until the two are captured by a group of people that Azrael and Keenan were hiding from.
Yeah.
The group separates the two and puts them both in separate cars in the trunks. The people who capture her drag her to a clearing. Oh, there's this shot when she's in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a long, drawn-out intro for the movie.
Yeah.
It has like the titles. Whatever's happening in cinema recently, specifically horror, they're having like really cool intros to movies, or at least for the credits. They've been doing that a lot recently, where like the first 10 minutes will have a very interesting and creative, new, rejuvenated introduction to the film. And this film has one, and I really like that. I'm a sucker for good intros and good introductions to the movie we're about to witness.
It lets you know what you're in store for. It gets you amped, gets you pumped, and you're not left there guessing like, oh, is this gonna be one of those slow burn movies, or is this gonna be like an action-packed movie?
Right. And Long Legs is a key example because the intro for Long Legs was great. Had that ratio, that frame ratio, and and then once he ducks down to the camera, it cuts and goes right into the movie. It's awesome.
So sick. Oh, dude, that was in theaters again for Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Ah, damn it.
We did do a Long Legs review. It's our first one ever on this channel, so go check it out.
Yes.
So they drag her into a clearing, into the forest, which is this section is kind of manipulated. All the surrounding trees around this region have several bottles and tins hanging from strings, clinking in the wind. Azrael fights back against her kidnappers, but the three able-bodied men manage to overpower her and tie her to a makeshift chair that is in the middle of the clearing. So again, the gentleman I was mentioning earlier, the Finnish one.
Yep.
He, the first impression you have is like, he's the leader. You just think he's the leader right off the rip.
The dude with the long hair, right?
Yeah, he kind of has it like,
yeah,
but he's has a really menacing look to him. There are some people that are just made to be villains. And this guy just has that feel. He has that look, and I really dug his performance, even though these people don't say anything. Huh?
Imagine the casting director just like going through all these people, and then she sees his photo. She's like, "Bring him in."
Yeah, because I mean, you got to think. I mean, if you're gonna have a movie with no dialogue, you're gonna be able to do more with more people. Because they don't have to speak. They just and it also shows that if they do a good job in their performance in a movie like this, it goes to show that they can act without having to speak.
I want to see that script.
Right, that would be very interesting. The table read must be like just so fast. Yeah, it must have like occurred so quickly. So they overpower and tie her to a makeshift chair that is in the middle of the clearing. They leave her there tied, and they step back just far enough. And they give her a cut. I think it was on her leg.
Yeah. They give her like a little slice. But they start doing like that deep breathing behind her after they walk away.
Oh, yeah. So,
like a ritual.
Yes. They step back just far enough and start breathing in a rhythmic fashion, very slowly and quietly at first. Kind of reminiscent of Midsommar.
Ooh, you're right.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when she's having that sexual scene, they're doing it there. But there also is that type of breathing when they're like you just did, that very quick. I mean, because
deep. It's a deep like little huh.
Yeah, and Midsommar does a really good job capturing the kind of pagan elements of the Nordics, and a lot of stuff that they have in that movie is pretty accurate to how Nordic pagans and pagan religions are. Right? Sorry?
Ari Aster did direct that?
Let me check real quick for you.
Pretty sure it was.
But there is a lot of good soup in that movie.
Good soup.
Yeah, Ari Aster.
Sick.
All right.
So terrified right now. Terrified. One would say I'm terrified.
Tongue-tied and terrified.
Terrified.
Okay. So again, they're doing this ritualistic breathing.
Hmm.
The sounds of tins, bottles grow louder. The wind picks up immensely before coming to a halt. Azrael, being the powerhouse that she is, overcomes the bindings, and we get a glimpse of this bigger threat that we have here. The woods have
Vampire.
zombie-like creatures known as the burned ones. The burned
Yeah.
ones. As
Dude,
one,
I'm not gonna lie. I thought those were Wendigos.
yeah, I didn't know what they were. They were either Wendigos or, men possessed with demons, kind of like the Wendigo route, where it could be just flesh,
Because they
corrupted.
love blood. Like, they're like
Yeah,
blood
yeah, yeah,
lovers.
yeah. That's true. Um, and all these kind of not cult, folklore things like vampires, werewolves, shapeshifters. Um,
Yeah.
they all have truth to them. You see, there is a bit of truth in every work of fiction, but
Yes.
a lot of monsters like these, there is true inspiration from men's flesh being so corrupted that they turn into animalistic, evil, corrupted
Beings.
beings. So that's what I thought at first. I'm like, they're zombies, they're people possessed by demons, or some sort of monster, like Nick
Yeah.
said, being a Wendigos.
Wendigo.
So the breathing picks up, like they get louder, they get faster, and you could really feel the suspense here. Like when I was
Yeah.
watching in the theater, I was like, man, this is a very suspenseful scene. I'm really digging this. We're only like 15, 20 minutes in, and this just feels really heavy. And I really dug what they were doing. The shots, the close-ups of their faces and their mouths, and showing the creature and back to Azrael. It was so rich,
Immersive.
so rich and immersive, and you could really feel the weight of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really
I
dug it.
concur.
Huh?
I concur. I wasn't in a theater, but I sat there and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I'm like, break out that shit. Get out of there.
She struggles to go against her binds. Yada, yada, yada. One of them makes their way to Azrael because he sees that she's, finicking with her straps,
He's getting loose.
getting loose. So he goes over to her. She breaks one of the armrests off the chair, and it kind of breaks off, and this piece of wood breaks off with her wrist. And, this guy just wanted to make sure she could just not escape from this ritualistic sacrifice. And he goes over to her, tries to tie her down, but she basically stabs him, I think, right in the neck. Is that
Like fucking
yeah,
right through
like,
his.
boom.
Yeah.
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 Now you're like, okay, well, this movie's going to have some gore.
What's going on?
So we get very, very, very blunt.
And dude, what's crazy about that is that right after she does that, she's kind of like, oh fuck.
Yeah, she's
And
like,
he's
oh
just
my
like,
gosh. Yeah.
he's like, ah.
As
And then
anybody would probably be at first, like, you know.
and then the fucking group they're just over here like they
They had
don't
no idea
know
what's
because
going
they
on.
can't hear. They can't. There's no screaming. There's no. Their cords are all their cords are fucked.
It's true.
So they're just going, not realizing that they're one of their dudes is over here like,
Yeah.
and she's over here like
Yeah.
trying to break out.
So she manages to break out of her binds and runs as far as she can from the clearing.
Dude,
She's-
meanwhile, that dude
Yes.
starts getting mauled on
Straight up.
and ripped apart by that burned being.
Yeah, she rips the throat of the young boy and literally drinks his blood like a fountain.
Mm-hmm.
And
The burned person.
I'm not gonna lie, I chuckled in the theater. I'm like, wow. I was like, holy crap. She literally just cut his throat and just started drinking him like a fountain.
Like they went all out for this one.
Yeah, you just know, like, okay, well, this is gonna be an interesting watch. We're gonna see some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when the burned one is distracted, Azrael manages to get up and run. She stops near this stream that puts some leaves on the wound that the leader of the group made on her. However, by the time Azrael covers up the wounds, one of the burned ones had already gotten a whiff of her blood. So now we know there's not just one being, which I thought it was at first. I thought,
Dude, yeah.
yeah, I just thought there was one, and like, I kind of dug that. Like, oh, like, what is this god or demon? You know, like, what is this?
Yeah.
But now we find out there's multiple, and one basically gets a whiff of her scent. Luckily, starts to begin to chase her, but luckily she manages to cover up the scent of her blood with the leaves and survive the close call. On coming out of hiding, she saw the road and the tire tracks along with it, realizing that this would lead to Keenan. She follows them and ends up in the base camp of this cult. So we see this cult, and it's got this like fence of razor wire, metal bottles that can cling. It's basically it's like if people are trying to get in, or even prisoners to get out, they'll know, they'll hear it. But really close quarters, like this reminds me of like an old town from like early America, like, settlers who came over and started making these little towns.
What it reminded me of was just recently, I forgot what city or what state, but there was this group of homeless people who literally built a functioning small little town in the forest, camouflaged.
Mm-hmm.
They had running power, running electricity, all this stuff. They had like bottles lined around the place so you could hear like a trip alarm stuff. But it reminded me of that.
Right.
And I was just like, dude, I'm like, it's possible.
It is possible. So she follows the tracks on the road and ends up in the base camp. The leader we saw until now seemed to be the head of the cult. But once we get a good look at this group of people, we realize that the true leader is actually the woman we saw in the beginning of the film, this older woman. In this makeshift church, Azrael snoops around the base and sees that, yes, Keenan was indeed brought here. So I think she saw his bracelet, I think.
Yeah.
Like underneath a post or something.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm correct.
I'm pretty sure that was
at that time. Because she does find it eventually. I think that's when she finds it. She sees it. She didn't go in yet. So now she's on a mission to save her man. This journey of hers is way more bloody than any of us could have imagined. She keeps getting captured by the cult members, or has a run-in with the creatures, or both. But definitely makes surviving out in the woods difficult. She does find Keenan, and she gets caught in one of the booby traps laid out by the cultists.
Can I just say?
Oh yeah, what's up?
That she did one thing that she did one thing. She broke a trope that we both hate, and she did something that we both love.
Okay, and just for people listening, I haven't seen this movie in like 4 weeks.
During this film.
Yeah, so if there's anything I'm not remembering, or like awesome moments or good moments, just please give them to me, because I
got you. So, essentially, the thing we hate, and done a lot lately in movies we've been reviewing: weapon, stab, run away, leave weapon.
Yeah.
She would take each weapon with her wherever she's going. She'd always take it with her. Yep. And I was just over here like, dude, I know Jacob was loving that shit when he was watching it. Hello, he's like, thank God.
Definitely. Because she does the smart thing that anybody would probably do if they're in a situation like this and take a weapon.
Dude, yeah.
Well, so thank you to the director. Thank you. Because you're breaking a trope that is horrible.
That's bad. It's a bad trope. Oh my God, I just hit this guy with an axe. Let me just leave it here.
Let me just leave it. He's a supernatural entity that can't be killed off of one shot. Let me just leave the only weapon.
Just leave it right here. Yeah, just leave it there.
Literally right here.
Came with the power of kindness.
I can't remember any other moments before in which he's captured. She's captured when she finds him. I don't know if you remember anything memorable about that.
I think she gets. I just watched it, but I'm trying to like remember what part was where.
Yeah, like after
I know
she escapes. I know she finds this like structure. I think, and then she like hides in there.
Is that from the creature, right? She hides from the creature.
She hides. She runs and hides, and there's another creature around this structure, and it like sniffs her out, and then like slowly walks away.
Yeah, one of the parts I remember, she's running. She ran until night. Finally stops and she's bleeding, so she puts her hand on a rock, and then that's when the creature starts like sniffing her out. So she starts running again. They're on her ass. She gets into the road. She almost gets hit by a car by that one dude who spoke a language that we did not know.
And I
So then
think
she
it's
basically
a little
communicates
later.
with him.
Yeah,
She basically communicates with him. She's like, "Let me in."
pretty much.
And he's just like,
Okay.
he's over here like, "Kubadaba jayabada." Okay.
Okay. So she goes and finds Keenan, gets caught in one of the booby traps laid out by the cultists. Basically, it was
That's
just
after this. Yeah, it's after the car part.
yes, yes.
Yes.
It has no
The guy
other.
driving
Okay.
gets his head blown out by one of the members. His head gets blown to smithereens
That's after or before this part?
before she
Really?
finds him. Yeah,
That was after.
pretty sure it's before. It's before, yeah.
Okay. But then he's
Before.
driving with her, and then she's like, "Ooh, I escaped," and then gets his head blown off by a good shot by somebody who's ahead of the car.
So then they crash. He's dead. She's pretty fucked up. She crawls out. The guy who shot them, she aimed the car at him, hit him with the car before they crash. So then she's crawling out the car like stumbling, and then she has to fight the guy who shot them. She ends up blowing his brains out after a good struggle with some really good music. She takes his gun, and then that's when we enter the scene where she's crawling, walking over with the gun to the fire with her man, uh, basically nailed to the tree and
Right.
tied to the tree,
Yeah, yeah.
and then she gets caught in that trap that you're talking about.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I got you.
It was a good
Bleh.
scene. The whole car scene was good, and it's surprising once he gets shot. And she
Yeah,
fights. She fights well. She does a good job.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
So yeah, she's like John Wick, dude.
I know.
So she gets caught in the trap,
There's no other
and her
choice
man's
but to
in the
watch her
fire.
die. Basically, she's just like hanging.
Yeah. And the dude comes back.
Yes.
The Finnish dude. What is the Finnish?
Yeah, that dude.
The Finnish dude comes back and he's over here like,
Yes.
Max is her man, and then he's like, "Hey, hear noises. The fuck is that?" And that's when she's over here like
Still hanging.
trying to fucking get out of there. She turns around. She just sees like as she's upside down hanging, she just sees his head go right into the tree, and he gets like he's being attacked by the monsters. And she's looking at him, he's looking at her, and she's just like, "Suck, huh?" And then he gets ripped apart by like 3 or 4 of these things. They drag his body parts away. One carries his head away, and that's when she's like, "I gotta get the fuck out of here." So she gets on
She
top of the
climbs the
tree.
rope, gets on top of the tree, and they're like, "Oh, well, she's safe. She's good now." They climb the tree. That was
And they're not just like, "Ah, damn, I'm gonna climb this."
It's not like
No,
they're
like
slipping, like they're climbing.
spider
It's
monkeys.
like World War Z. Like
I was like watching the first scene of Spider-Man 1 when he starts learning that he can climb
yeah,
things.
right? They're like, oh my gosh, he can climb now.
Whoa,
Put that music on top of this movie.
dude, yeah, that's literally what I was thinking.
And essentially, I forgot how she beats them.
One of them, her man gets taken.
Right,
Her man gets taken by one. He's done. It bites him and stuff. The one that was after her almost gets her. She puts the rope that was on her foot around its neck. She kicks.
Hangs him.
She pulls him off with her. She hits the ground like a brick, and he just goes and it gets snapped. And then like there's like a good minute of her just trying to regain like her composure when you see his legs, the burnt man's legs, just hanging, swaying.
So we know that their necks can be broken or suffocated. They can be suffocated. So we know that it's living. So we know that it can die very easily.
And I think that's the moment where she enters her John Wick phase. She's like,
Yes.
you killed Pookie. Now I'm gonna kill all of you."
Yep.
She picks up the gun.
Like, screw this. I'm done. I'm just gonna end it all.
He's like, "I'm sick of this shit."
And the whole scene was pretty solid. Like, there wasn't a. I mean, if I remember back, I remember kind of being a little. I remember being taken out of it for a moment, but I think that was only really because I was continuously surprised at what was happening in the scene. Like,
Okay.
continuously surprised. So she gets caught. He gets rampaged. Him and her boyfriend, they get killed. She climbs, and then they climb. It's like, oh my gosh, and then hangs him, and then like, oh my gosh, okay, so it dies. And so there's so many things that happen, and it's just out of left field every single time. So it's like, and this scene in particular, I got taken out of it for a moment, but kind of just roped right back in. And
Because you're just like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, it just continues. It's not a long movie. It's only an hour and 26, an hour and 26.
Oh, shit.
It's really short, and I do think the pacing in this movie is really well done.
Well done.
Very well done, especially for having no dialogue.
Steak. Yeah.
Not having dialogue, and they keep it very interesting the whole way through. You're always, hooked. You're always wondering what's going to happen next. You're on the edge of your seat. And just bravo for making a movie with pretty much like 99% zero dialogue and keeping it interesting all the way through.
Yeah.
She goes back to the Colts camp with her weapon. She's trying to get in, and she's like, I think she was getting cut by razor wire, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was, she's going, you can tell like they did a good job,
That's before, I think.
I
think that's before the scene where she runs away. Where she runs and she puts her hand on the rock and bleeds. I think that's before.
But this is her first time going in, no?
No, I think the last time she went in.
I think she was just looking. I could be wrong. You just watched it.
I'm trying to remember. I know, but not. I'm like, she gets kidnapped and brought there so many times. But I remember after she leaves her man, like where her man died, she goes back to the camp. She's like kind of like scouting it out, and then she starts whistling like them.
Right.
And leading all of them into the forest, and then she goes into the main church area, where that pregnant woman is, and the pregnant woman, she aims the gun at her, and she's pregnant. She's like, I can't do it. And then the pregnant woman just grabs a pan, lowers the gun, smacks her on the head, knocks her out. She gets kidnapped again.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I think the barbed wire part was earlier on, right before what I mentioned with the rock and the blood, with the creatures. I think it was before that.
She goes into the church hoping to attack the woman to end the fight right there, but as it turns out, the woman was heavily pregnant. She lowered a weapon, and that's when the church lady attacked her, knocking her out. And it was kind of
And as she fell,
this is like the only...
she scratched her belly.
Yes, that's correct. But this is the only time where I was like, because when she lowers the gun, it's like, okay. But then she like starts to back up, like without looking. It's like her perception just disappeared and forgot where she was, and and just like forgot where she was and just got murked.
Yeah, she got murked real bad.
And
she got PUBG'd.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So she comes back to her senses, and she's being buried alive by the cult members. There's a tunnel near her feet, and assuming this is the only way out, Azrael follows along, but there is a creature waiting for her at the other end of the tunnel.
Oh, shit.
With nowhere else to go, Azrael goes back into the coffin and awaits her demise.
It was a Diddy tunnel.
It's a Diddy tunnel. Did you also go to Michael Jackson's house?
Stop.
The creature gets super close to Azrael, sniffing her bloodied head and hands, but it instantly backs off when it smells the church lady's blood on her fingers, who she managed to scratch when she's getting knocked out. Realizing that the burned ones can't hurt her anymore as long as she has the church lady's blood on her hand, Azrael goes all out. She storms the base, burns everything to the ground, and just starts having like a shootout with like
John Wick style
with another guy, and she's just picking people off, bang bang. It has really good aim for some reason, but maybe it's divine intervention, whatever.
Could have been training.
We don't know who she is. We don't
know anything about her.
Nothing.
All I know is that she kicks ass.
Yes, it's a great job.
They call her the Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga. So she has this whole fight. With this guy for like 5 minutes. It was pretty good. You didn't really know
Dude,
where she was, and he was confused, and like it was a pretty good scene by itself.
it was so good because there's like you literally see him like it's like he's fighting Batman. He's like looking in the
Right.
shadows and the
Yeah.
smoke, and he's like, and you could just imagine him going, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
he sees a figure, and he's like, "Ha, gotcha." He looks over, it's like, "No!" It's looking one of the
Yeah.
members, and
Yeah.
then she
Yeah.
just comes up behind him and just slices his fucking head off.
Yep.
Cleanest shot, dude.
Clean.
That might be my favorite shot of the movie. That one.
Okay. I respect that.
It
It's a
reminded me of
really
like
clean shot.
those anime scenes in the
Right.
movies where they're just like,
Yeah.
and then the head just.
Shows what you do for revenge.
True.
What you're capable of. Storms the base, has that whole entire scene, starts, lights the whole thing on fire. They start, they were ringing their warning clangs and clongs and sounds. So now
Yeah.
they were on high alert and everything. But then they go and corners the lady in the church. And this lady was like doing like really weird iconography on the
The wall.
walls, and there was like Mary and Jesus. It was very, I don't know if it was like an older church or that they just kind of morphed into.
Twisted.
Yeah, it's like and it had a cross in it. They never took it down, and had these the icons of Mary
The
and Jesus.
statue of Jesus wasn't on a cross that was on against the wall by the front door. It was on this weird shaped
Right.
wooden design thing, which where
Yeah.
I saw it, I was like, wait, hold up.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to make a cross. What are you guys doing over here?
Right. So, interesting church.
Thumbnail.
Yeah.
I just made like two faces, and I was like, yeah, there we go.
Thumbnail.
Thumbnail.
Corners a woman in the church. They have a boss fight, essentially, and the lady's water breaks as she goes into labor.
Dude, that scene was fucking insane.
It was. The lady who led the kidnappers shows up in the church, attacking her despite her injuries, and it becomes very evident that the whole cult's mission is to keep the church lady and her baby safe. Azrael manages to kill off the lady and turns to face the new mother, only to see her slitting her own throat. Her job is
Seeing
done.
what she's birthed.
Yeah, she basically, she gives birth. She looks over to this area where she's keeping the baby. It cries like a human child, and then the cries morph into this demonic goat human cooing and crying hybrid. And that was really creepy. A lot of times with horror movies, when they do this sort of route, and they go down this route, and they're trying to make sounds of either like a demon possessed person or the sound of a monster. It's usually, they all kind of sound the same and like overdone, and it's not very creepy. But this one was very creepy. It was
very
creepy. You hear the change from like the human noises into the goat, and to the monstrous crying and like groaning.
It gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, it was creepy. You didn't really know. You were like anticipating what this thing looked like. You were really anticipating what it looked like.
Yeah, they did a really good job of building suspense to the reveal.
Oh yeah, very suspenseful movie. They do a great time with this movie throughout, and each scene has its own layer of suspense, and they kill it. Surprised by this turn of events, Azrael goes to the baby and wraps it in a bunch of clothes. There lays a creature who resembled, I guess, the Antichrist, a goat-human hybrid. She cradles the baby, smiling. As the burned ones entered the church, hearing the cries of the baby, she looks at them. They're standing looking at her, and the movie ends. Weird twist of events at the very end. She goes to the baby, smiles, and
Basically adopts it.
Yeah. So
that threw me off so hard.
Yeah, so how could you smile at an image like that when you were fighting for what seemed like it'd be a good cause the entire time?
It was like a heel turn at the very last minute.
Yeah.
And I'm just over here like, why?
Did it have some sort of power and it kind of corrupted her? Like,
that's what I thought, because like when she went to go shoot the mom, she didn't, because she looked at the belly.
Yes.
And then I feel like that's where it started.
Right.
And then at the end, when she hears all the crying and all the winds blowing, everything's going out, all the candles and everything, you see her like looking around like, whoa. And I was over here like, please tell me you don't want to save this thing. Please tell me you're gonna pick up the gun and just blow its brains out.
Yeah.
Do a fucking immaculate, just.
Right.
But no, she just goes, my child.
Yes. Um, the interesting thing is that her name is Azrael, and Azrael is the name of a demon.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it
Because it was
was.
in another movie recently.
Which movie?
I forget. Azrael is the name of the angel of death in many religions, including Islam, Judaism, and Sikhism,
Sick. Let's go.
aka a demon.
Represent. Move the movies now are like let's represent this dude. This dude, he's doing things. Doing things.
Yeah, Azrael is the name given to the angel of death. The angel of death appears in numerous religious texts in the Quran. He is often referred to as Malachi.
Malachi?
Yeah, and in the Zohar, he is called Azrael. Sikh scriptures use
Damn.
the name Azrael, while the Bible does not use a name for angels that cause death because it's not a Christian belief. But interesting to say the least. In Islam, Israel is one of the 4 archangels, along with X, Y, and Z. Said to have Azrael said to have a register of all people and records, and he erases their names at birth and death. Azrael is also said to stand with one foot in the 7th heaven and the other on the bridge between paradise and hell. So, I forgot what other movie it is, but Azrael is a demon, and you're not supposed to say its name.
Well, there you go.
So I can't remember.
He doesn't listen.
Azrael.
Doesn't.
I'm
There
protected by Jesus Christ.
Doesn't listen.
Only fear
This
I
guy.
have is of God.
This guy.
So I mean, I'm still kind of, the ending kind of threw me off, and I'm not. It did affect my opinion of the film a little bit, because the whole film all throughout is so solid.
Yeah.
It just keeps you on your toes, man. It does such a well. The directing was great. The special effects were crazy, and like the kills were nuts.
Those were insane.
Straight from the get go. I wish I rewatched it just so I could talk about the kills a little more. But I don't know if you have anything else worth talking about regarding that.
Kills were up there with like, I would say, Rambo, the 2006 Rambo, I think it was.
Right. Yeah.
That's how graphic they were.
I can see that. Yeah.
It was like watching like a female apocalypse Rambo. Aside from that, I would say the ending did throw me off like as well. Kind of was like I was over here like confused as fuck. Like why? What are you doing? And then I was like brother. And the imagery the imagery they used where she's holding the baby and then like as it pans, you start seeing like or tilt pans, whatever the fuck. You start seeing the circular window above her.
Oh, and it looks like a holy
behind her.
ring, right?
Yeah. And I was over here like, how dare you stand where he stood?
Great. Deathly Hallows, ladies and gentlemen. Harry Potter.
I did it yesterday at work, and someone was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Shut up."
So yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I did not watch anything regarding the ending, and that's just. I mean, let me see. Let me do a quick search. Azrael ending.
Oh, just a little search. Just a little search. Azrael ending. That was such a weird way to go. Weird direction to take it.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because Immaculate had that ending where the baby gets killed, they're like, man, we gotta change it.
That would be stupid.
It would be.
All right, let's see. Azrael smiles in the final scene as she holds the child and the burned ones howl, indicating that was the outcome that she was hoping for the entire time. That's what Screen Rant is saying. I don't know how I feel about
What's
that.
Screen Rant? I don't trust them.
Her name
I don't
holds,
believe it.
and then her name holds clue to why. In Abrahamic religions, Azrael is recognized in many places as the angel of death who serves God by transporting souls after death. The reference in Azrael is most likely to the 2nd century Christian text known as the Apocalypse of Peter, which is not recognized as part of the Bible, which describes Azrael as the angel of wrath who oversees the punishments of the wicked. As with many texts from early Christianity, the interpretations are heavily disputed in translation, authorship, and veracity, although that doesn't matter for the character name. Azrael is happy that the monstrous child was born, indicating that her murderous rampage across the camp was not necessarily vengeance of a previously terrified young woman, but perhaps her mission from God as an angel of death or wrath.
Oh shit.
Another possible explanation lies in the fact that the evil child proves that the cult Azrael fled from was not acting in God's interest, and that she and Keenan were right to flee from them in search of their own path. Still, another interpretation could be made that the happiness that Samara Weaving conveys, that as long as she has the child, the burned ones can't hurt her, which will allow her to gain true freedom. With no exposition or an informational on-screen text, the ending is left open to interpretation, as is often the case with horror movie endings.
Dude. It's just like leaving it up to us at that point.
Yeah, and I can see what they're doing with the name, and she brought wrath and death to the people, and I guess the imagery was just imagery. I don't think it really meant anything. I guess the only thing it really meant was that she was now going to be the Mary figure of the burned. You know? And then the child is going to be some antichrist. And she's going to, like, take the power now and be safe with this with this baby.
She's going to mold it.
Yeah, I guess. But the ending I'm still unsure of.
Yeah.
I'm still unsure of the ending. There is.
I would give it. What are you saying?
I have one spoiler trivia. When the man rescues the woman, he is speaking Esperanto, the constructed universal language created in 1887 by L.L. Zamenhof, a Polish occultist.
Oh shit.
Occultist. I'm not really. An occultist is a person who examines or treats people's eyes.
Oh, okay.
But it was created by this guy. A constructed universal language. He asked her, "How are you doing?" Later, he's asking her, "What language do you speak?" Language?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? So, like I said, it's a good thing that they didn't use a modern,
Like just English.
a more modern form of speech that is recognizable to, I would say, the large majority of people who have watched this film.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So, I'm gonna check my Letterboxd because I forgot what the rating I gave it. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 3.5.
That's what I was thinking of giving it.
I felt like it would have been a 4 or a 4.5 with a better ending.
Yeah, the ending was. If it felt more connected to the rest of the film in terms of like how things were playing out and just what her journey felt like where it was going, I would probably give it like a 4.
If we had more context, is that what are you arguing?
No, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying like if it didn't just have her heel turn and be like, I am now the angel of death, I'd have been like, nah, bruh, just like go in there, be the angel of death, and execute that little bastard. You know, fucking pull a little.
Because since the majority, like 99% of the film is good.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give it a 4.
It's tough, dude.
Because like I feel like if the ending was better, I'd probably give it a 4.5.
That's understandable.
This is tough.
It is. I'm giving it a 3.5. 3.5. Solid three and a
And
half.
the reason why it's not a 4 is because of the ending.
Because the ending just kind of took me out, and I was over here like, what the fuck's happening?
So why would it not be a 4?
Because of the ending.
But so let's say you raised it up 1. So let's say you give it a 4, and you would have given it 4.5, but the ending was not great. Why would this not start, or why would this not end at a 4, but it ends at a 3.5 for you? Like, why isn't it? I would have gave it a 4.5, but I gave it a 4 because of the ending. Like, why is it? I would have given it a 4. But
Why is it not a 4 for me?
Yeah.
Because of the ambiguity. I think it says it.
Ambiguity.
That. Yeah, that, and then the ending. Because like, you never truly know a lot about what's happening. You're kind of just piecing it together, and it's not. And since there's no like dialogue or like any real explanation, you're kind of just meant to like put it together yourself. And then we had to literally look up, like we do it often with films, like looking up the meaning of endings and what they mean. But like for a film that has no dialogue except for maybe one language that we just don't even understand, it would have been nice to have like a scene where like they show like the like like the icons or the drawings of this cult, like, kind of like giving an idea of why things are happening the way they're happening.
I can see that.
Not for me. So that's why it's for me. It's a
3.5.
3.5.
So I think we should. Yeah, it's probably 3.5. It's probably healthy, and I think the beginning wasn't too great with, like their relationship. It didn't. Well, it wasn't really sold to me.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching the beginning and seeing the relationship, I didn't really feel for them that much. It was just cute, but like it didn't feel like I was watching like a real relationship. It just kind of felt like it was in a movie, if that makes sense. Like obviously this is a fictional horror movie. So
Yeah.
it's kind of stupid when I say that, but what I'm really saying is it just didn't they didn't sell it to me.
You didn't feel the weight of the relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
But of course, like she's a great actress.
oh yeah, fuck, 100%.
Any other,
100%. I think there's more on his end. I feel like
yeah, 100%.
more on his end.
No offense, Nathan, but
No offense.
it could have been the directing, Nathan.
Shed a tear, man. Shed a tear.
Could have been the directing, maybe
Could have been directing.
Maybe it's not your fault.
It may not be, but then again, it may not be the director's fault. We're not placing blame on anybody here.
No,
We're just speculating.
Speculating. So with our horror movie reviews, we have a tier list that we have developed. At the bottom of the list, we have Salt and Burn It. Shout out to Supernatural fans out there. Above Salt and Burn It, we have Straight to the Grave. Mm-hmm. Above Straight to the Grave, we have So Bad It's Good. Above that, we have Put It on a Shirt. Above Put It on a Shirt, we have Scarred for Life. And above Scarred for Life, we have Therapy Required. I think I might give this a Scarred for Life.
Scarred for Life? I could see that.
The gore, the burnt ones, the goat baby.
The goat baby scarred me. Goat baby scarred me. 100%. That thing was ugly. You know how many eyes it had?
Right. Like
do you remember? Like spider eyes. Had like 8.
I think you're right. So that's why I think
terrifying.
There's a lot of elements of this film that could give it a Scarred for Life.
I would put.
And you know what?
I put Scarred for Life for the burn creatures.
And I wouldn't. Yeah.
And the baby.
And I would not put it on a shirt. Certain movies I will put it on a shirt. Like Terrifier, I'll get all 3 shirts for every movie.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a therapy required movie.
Therapy required for sure.
So, hypocrisy? No, not actually. So, and that's it. It gets a Scarred for Life. Mm-hmm. A lot of the horror movies we've been doing recently have been up there. And like I said, man, I think this year is a rejuvenation for horror. I just saw a trailer because I went and saw Heretic last night. I saw a trailer for a movie called Hard Eyes.
Oh, dude, yes.
So that's a new slasher movie coming out. And I was actually listening to a Damien Leone on an interview. And he said he thinks that in the next 2 years, slasher films will have a really big rejuvenation. And then it'll lower and kind of go back down where it was before this year, I would say. And really, he said that, the supernatural door has been opened, and once this story is over, will art come back? Yada yada yada. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I definitely call that, like, yes, this is the year for Art the Clown. Horror and slasher movies are coming back. It's back right now. This is like the beginning, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with the future of horror. And perhaps we will be pleasantly surprised to see where it goes. And honestly, I kind of disagree with Damien. I think it will stay alive longer than 2 years. And I just think, based off of the way people are coming to be in the world, and a lot, I would say a healthy portion of the younger generation is getting into horror.
They're finding an appreciation for it that they didn't have.
Thank you.
Because, like, the thing is, like, everybody in the 2000s until, like, 2019 maybe?
I would say, like, mid-2010s, probably around there. Probably around there.
They just were putting out the same repetitive shit, or just something they thought people wanted to see, but didn't. And a lot of it was copy and paste. A lot of it was, like, similar shit. And now, because of movies like Terrifier, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and what else?
There's a lot.
Some Blumhouse movies. We're seeing a rejuvenation in slashers and horror. And I think, like you said, I don't agree with Damien here. I think it's gonna go on for at least a good minute. We're gonna enter the age of slashers again, like in the 80s and 70s.
Say that one more time. You got cut out.
I think we're gonna enter the age of slashers again, like we were in with the 70s and the 80s, into like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I feel like it'll be 3 decades. I feel like we'll have like 3 solid decades, including this decade right now we're in. I feel like that's gonna be what we're entering.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with everything. There is a level to it in which, like, I would go to say that the early and late 2000s had a lot of good stuff. You had Paranormal Activity, you had Saw, you had Insidious, you had The Conjuring. So I think it was, for me, I would say I would say the last 10 years. That's what I would say. It's been a little rough. I would say the last 10 years, because, like I said, early 2000s, you had Saw, you had.
But there were hit or misses within those years too.
Sure, but the first one,
which contributed to the decline.
Scream.
Yeah.
Scream 2, I think, was late 90s, early 2000, if I remember correctly. But I would say it started to go down late 2000s, and then, like, from literally from today to 10 years ago, 2014 to 2024, that's when it got, like, just kind of like,
Yeah.
We kept watching them because it's still fun to watch crappy horror movies. Like, that's the joy of horror movies, is that you could watch bad ones and you could have a lot of fun with them.
And that's what we have on our tier list. So bad it's good.
So bad it's good, because some movies are so bad they're just so damn fun, and they're just good. So
that's right. Put it on a shirt.
Put it on a shirt, and we also have Put It On a Shirt, which is sometimes it's just not that great of a film, but like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, I'd wear that shirt. Wear it. Why not?
Yeah. That sounds like a fun shirt to wear, honestly.
I'm wearing this shirt.
Is that the Halloween Michael Myers?
Yes.
Nice. Represent.
So that's our review for Azrael. This is our review for Azrael. Represent. Give us a like. Subscribe. We would really appreciate it. Leave a comment letting us know where you would put it on your. I would say give it like a 1 star out of 5. We do letterbox ratings here, and if you want to give us some decimals, go ahead. Screw it. And and let us know where you would want to put it on our tier list, because I'm curious to see. Maybe our tier list needs a little bit of tightening up. I don't know. I think it's pretty solid for what it is, but it could always change later. So that's it for Azrael. That's where we are for Azrael. Good.
Free Palestine.
Good movie. Free Palestine. And I'm Jacob.
I'm Nick.
Peace.
Peace.